Hi, welcome to Designing Hollywood. I'm Marilyn Vance, and my first guest is the wonderful Ruth Carter. And we're here and we're going to talk about everything. So, she is an amazing human being, and yeah, and
Sometimes.
yeah. You came from Springfield, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in Springfield. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're my premiere.
Oof, I'm honored. I feel the
Thank you.
responsibility, but I'm also honored.
Responsibility that we're interesting altogether. But your career is so amazing. I mean, you really, really, truly, from all like the directors, I had certain directors that I did 17 films with that couldn't get away from. But you had really great friendships.
I did.
Spike Lee and you go back.
Yeah, 14 films with Spike Lee. That doesn't count like all the television and all the photo shoots and anything. Anytime he was doing something, he would call me or he would let the production company know to call me. And, but also in between all of that, I bounced back and forth between New York and LA, and I worked with Robert Townsend. I worked with Keenen, Ivory, Wayans. And so it was a time in black filmmaking in the early 90s that was burgeoning, and there was only a handful of us that were African American doing costume design, so kind of we nuanced the whole idea of blacks behind the camera, and they just hired me, so I bounced back and forth for 12 years.
Wow. And you didn't want to become a costume designer. That wasn't your original plan.
No, I think it was the plan, but I had to go about it through a route that meant, warming up to it, I guess. I always loved drama. I was one of those high school kids that was in the drama class, summer school drama things. I was acting, rolling around on the floor, being Macbeth. But when I got to college, I got an opportunity to do costumes, and I realized that I could draw as a costume designer, which I love to do. I could sew as a costume designer, which I knew how to do. And I could connect with the actors as performers because I actually had some experience performing, and I had that empathy for, what their insecurities were or what they were going through or how they were trying to craft their characters, and I enjoyed the process of that.
Yes. And that is some process, especially with our relationship with our directors sometimes are so close. When you work with Spike, does he designate anything, or does he go girl?
No. Spike is very clear about his aesthetic, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And he also gives you latitude. He wants to see what you bring to the table. He's usually like, Ruth, let me see your ideas. He used to say, let me see your ideals. And I kept thinking to myself, it's ideas, but whatever. And, he was great in that way. Great, yeah. He was so supportive, and he still is. It's one of those relationships that builds. You kind of know what to expect. You can't read their minds. It's no shorthand like people think. The minute you start thinking there's a shorthand, that's when you're going to make your biggest mistake.
Exactly.
It's always good to ask. Keep the relationship one of collaboration.
I always try. I always have to have that. It just doesn't work any other way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with the actor telling me what he thinks his part is or what he should be perceived as.
Yeah. Those are the actors that are the scaredest. They're most afraid. They're like, make sure you don't put me any color that makes me jump out of character.
Right.
Like, how can that happen when you're in character?
Exactly.
But it's always a conversation with the actors. It's always a conversation.
I agree with you totally, because I try, even in the young films, where when I first came out to LA, I didn't know what LA kids look like. I got Fast Times.
Got you.
The film Fast Times. So I get in my car, my rental car, and I take my Polaroid, which is like half the table size at the time,
Yeah.
take it with me and stuff some extra film and start walking around Van Nuys High School territory.
There you go.
I took the pictures of the cheerleaders and stoners, and I got an idea of what they look like because I'm from New York.
Yeah. Different flavor.
Yeah. And I'm walking around, and the security guard comes over and said, they want to see you in the office. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Really? Yeah. So I go to the office, and they started reaming me for taking photographs with underage children without parental consent.
Yeah.
I said, but I'm doing a movie. I'm at Universal. It was so crazy. They had already called.
Oh, wow.
The cops, that is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had them call the producers, and they put everything
fixed it.
fine, but they took away all my photographs.
Oh, what?
I know.
I did that on Daddy Daycare in Central Park with the kids. I have the cutest pictures of kids, and a couple of the nannies were giving me the shaking finger. And I was like, okay, you got to be a little covert with this mission. And I had long lens. I wasn't doing the Polaroid.
Oh, that's smart, though.
Yeah.
What were you doing? You were doing Daddy Daycare.
Daddy Daycare with Eddie Murphy. I
So
love Eddie.
were you doing the costumes for the entire? So you said you're looking for you got the kids costume.
Doing a little bit of field
design.
research, And,
Oh, that's cool.
So because I was Daddy Daycare, so it was a daycare,
Yeah,
so the
yeah,
kids, they're just above toddlers. So I just always wanted to create a story for the toddlers, So,
Yeah.
I wanted the rock and roll kid. I wanted the Spider-Man kid. I wanted the...
In Manhattan,
so I just wanted to
especially,
get, a sense of their spirit and their...
That's great. Because you don't think about so much. There's so many people that watch movies and they're so ready to say that's not from this time or that doesn't match that.
Yeah.
So nowadays, especially with the internet, people are really ready to jump down any. I mean, if you have the wrong, this watch wasn't out then, and
Right.
so for you guys to, think about not only is this accurate to the time, but who is this representing? You're building and like you said, I want to make sure these these archetypes
Yeah.
are represented.
Yeah, it's a
great.
slice of life.
Yeah.
And it's your slice of life. It doesn't mean that it's a documentary either. It's the way you tell the story
But
and what
that's
you
how
want
we
to
go
put
about,
into
That's
it.
how
the
we
detail.
work with our characters.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only that way to work. Hopefully the actor is on the right page with us, and, we connect. And because sometimes, you want them to look a certain way, and
But the actors don't scare me.
That's awesome.
me either. But
Good.
on Pretty in Pink, I had to dress Ducky.
Who is that?
And he, oh, my God.
Ducky.
Can you pull up Pretty in Pink?
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with you guys obviously worked on giant movies. Do you guys know that they're as big as they are when you're working on? Do you ever get a feel this is gonna pop, or is it just, oh my God, I can't believe that got so big?
The 2 times they didn't get big.
Oh,
that I thought
That
they
you
were
thought they
going to
were
be
gonna-
huge.
oh, that's okay. That's a
huge.
cooler story.
What
But I think scale is important. I don't think you go into anything thinking, this is going to be, because the minute you say this is going to be big, it's small.
Yeah.
So never have that feeling in your head. Never go into anything thinking you're making a hit, because you are splitting your focus.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You go into it. Where is he?
John Pryor, yeah.
Yes. Oh man, you did a great job.
That's amazing. That's so cool. That's such a look
he
too.
was the biggest nerd,
Ah.
and now still is, that
Yeah,
you've
but
ever
with
met.
that look, he don't have to say nothing. Nobody will know.
See, yeah, that's so true. You guys really do. It's like the writers that don't get credit on a late night show because people are like, wow, that host is so funny. It's like,
Right.
well, he didn't write any of that stuff. It's like when they come on screen, you see that actor or that character, you're like, wow, that's such a great look. But your name, you know what I mean? It's like they attach it to the movie.
Yeah.
But it's like you guys, like that's so iconic. You know what I mean? Like you
Well-
guys do, yeah, like that's what you remember is the looks more than
Yeah.
anything, you know?
Mhm.
We have to go with what we believe is right. They hired us for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's the reason. But in a contemporary film, the hard part is to not be on the nose with fashion at the time. For what's selling, you can't do that to yourself or to, you have to do your own thing. Could have the feeling of things that are happening, but it has to be original. Like with Pretty Woman, I had to make everything for her.
What?
They didn't believe in the movie.
What?
They really, they had no concept. There's pictures of I had to photograph her with every color fabric.
Wow.
With Disney,
I hate when they get all involved like that.
it was, afterwards I got great letters from Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Of course,
thank
after
you
the fact.
Yeah.
During the fact, they make your life hell.
But have you had those kind of problems?
Oh, well, you work on a Marvel film. You definitely are.
Yeah, right.
You definitely are bringing to the table all types of, hundreds of illustrations. I mean, like you could do 100 illustrations on one character.
Oh my God.
And then they do the approvals. As much as you want to have that power, and you do have that power because they've hired you.
That's
You
right.
have an aesthetic sense. You have the ability, but they also have schools of illustrators, and you have a room of illustrators. So when you have that much creative energy circulating, it becomes really not like a machine. It is very much a creative experience, but it's just that. It's
Wow.
like we're trying to dial it in. So there's no dictatorship. It's like the ultimate in collaboration.
So when you're making the design, especially for Marvel films, like have you ever made an illustration that you're like, I'm not sure how I'm going to make this come to life, but this is the look I want? Because their outfits are so, like you watch, you're like, how is that? Who thought of that? What material is that,
Yeah, well, that's my part. I always have to look at things in terms of believability and materials, what materials I'll use. And because the illustrations do come from many iterations, I have to be the voice of that's not possible.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes you see stuff and you're like, how is that going to be?
Yeah.
Because they have to function in
But
it.
then I just take it and I re-illustrate it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I understand the vision, re-illustrate it so that the craftspeople can construct it. And sometimes, when we lean into exact duplicates of something that's fantastical, it looks really corny when it's all made up. It just looks really stupid.
No, that's true.
You know, and so it's up to me to kind of say, let's not make that out of that material. Let's not be general. Let's kind of give it a little zing and a little zowie, and it turns out better.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
think
did.
it turns out better.
Yeah.
It does.
I can always tell a costume that was made exactly by the illustration
That's hilarious.
because the line work just doesn't make sense.
They say that with tattoos. When you go get a tattoo done, if you bring the exact piece that you want, it's like they'll do the exact thing, but you're taking away from the artist. It's like let them tell them what you want, and then you're gonna get something 10 times better than what you could have thought of.
Oh God, I
so-
did that with my husband's tattoo. They did it exactly like this crazy little pencil sketch I did. And I was like, hey, I thought they were going to bring their own. And now it's on you for life. It was just a rough.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's really it's really interesting the process that we go through to bring that up there
Oh
on the
yeah.
screen. It's a lot.
Yeah, and the
It's a
eyes
whole
that you
lot.
gulike are on it. It's like I said, they're people watch things for some reason. They try they break it down too much, and it's
Right.
like I mean, like I said, like for even out like what they're wearing, like they're gonna like it's you guys are kind of the voice for that character. Then say you have a big name in this act, like you don't want them to get it's kind of like that silent, like you don't know what's bad until you see it. It's like no one realizes sometimes how good the design is because it's not bothering you. And sometimes, you know what I mean? So if like sometimes you're like, oh, that outfit's terrible, but when it's great, you just feel that it's great, but your brain is just like, okay, you're just believing it and you're in the story. So like it is, yeah. It's
Like being on the beach in a bikini.
Yeah, there's
yes.
there are certain producers and directors that have to have the input and have to approve everything and have to like the look and give you ideas. And in the beginning, I know it was hard for me to break through that with them and get that respect and then hire me for the reason that we're going to give you what it is, you know, you need to get put on the screen. You need us. And so that stopped. But I had a hard time. I had a hard time with some of these producers, you know, that had their name is on it, you know.
Yeah. What do you think someone like me that's just on the outside looking in doesn't know about how, like, a difficult thing that you guys might love about the job, but just someone that, like, you guys, when you got into it, were like, wow, I had no idea this entailed. Because for me, like, I think of just, you know, costume. Like, even when you were saying, like, field research, I never even thought of that. You don't want to be too on the nose, which makes so much sense because, again, it's the scrutiny. But, like, I never even thought of it. Like, what else comes to, like, design that, like, a layman's or a non-design person would have no idea that you guys were kind of like, this is heavy. Like, this is a big part of your job.
You need
It
like
is.
a muscle
It's
suit?
the job.
Oh, what? A muscle suit? Well, is it a lot of, like...
Well, you know, there's a certain amount of body transformation.
Yeah.
So, you know, Chadwick is a very, you know, thin guy. He doesn't have the super strength of vibranium. So we create a muscle sculpt
Oh, wow.
underneath the suit. So, you know, if he's having a thin day, we don't worry about it because he's got a muscle suit to put on
That's
first.
awesome.
And it's
So sometimes
underneath.
when we're looking at these shows, I remember like the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really,
Oh, yeah.
that's nuts because it looks so real.
Yeah,
and so
no.
good.
Well, we didn't want him to be too, you know, Superman V-shaped in
Yes,
his
yeah.
chest. We didn't want it to be too out of bounds.
You did that.
We want
great.
him to be more human,
Oh,
but
yeah.
also have the sculpt, you know. But those are not his abs.
No, you did. That was,
You must have amazing abs anyway to have it cut through a
Oh,
material
he's
like
amazing. I mean, he's an athlete.
that. Yeah.
But
that's hilarious.
He's thin. You know, he's vegan. He's
Yeah. So that's cool to know though, because sometimes I feel like you think that these actors or actors like they really do like need you guys sometimes to give them that extra little push of like, hey,
push or pull.
or
push or pull is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Have you guys ever worked with somebody that was like an actor that was in a positive way, like involved with what they were their outfits, or most of the time they don't really care?
Oh no, it's about even. I think I did I Spy with Eddie Murphy and
Wow.
What was his name? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
God, I've done that.
So how many times you worked with Eddie Murphy? 'Cause you did Daddy
I've done
Daycare.
like I think 6 movies.
Wow.
With Daddy Daycare, I Spy, Dr. Doolittle 2.
Oh my God.
I just did Coming to America 2, and then I did something just before that one. Just can't
That's
remember.
insane.
Yeah, I love
Dolemite,
Eddie.
I love God.
He's awesome.
That's insane.
Just, I love him.
So when you work,
Ian
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson.
Owen-
I wanna
oh,
say
yeah.
Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson didn't believe
Sorry,
anything
Owen.
I told him.
oh, for real? See, that's
Oh,
so
God.
insane.
Yes, and the director was Betty Thomas, and every time I said Betty would like, he thought I was saying Eddie would like, and I was like,
Oh,
no,
that's
I know
funny.
I came on this job because of Eddie Murphy, but he's not dictating anything.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
So we drove from, we were shooting in Budapest, and you know, the
What?
only place to shop in Budapest was like Hugo Boss.
Of course.
So we drove to Vienna to go to the designers. I mean, and we drove early. We had to actually have his jacket on set by like, you know, I don't know, noon or something. And we drove that morning to
What?
Vienna like at like 100 miles an hour
An adventure.
to speed
This
shop.
is what
I
happens.
know, the day of a
the
shoot.
day of, because he was just like having a fit about his jacket.
Wow.
Just a jacket. And
See, that's what I'm talking about. People don't think about that. Where you're in
Yeah.
Budapest, it's not like you're somewhere in LA or New York or even like in Virginia, somewhere
Yeah.
that you can know-ish where.
yeah, all that happens all the time.
Wow.
And I actually noticed on the highway like a discount shopping mall before we got to Vienna, and we pulled in there, and I like bought him a beige corduroy denim looking jacket, and
Wow.
drove back and got there in time, showed it to him, and he wore it.
Wow, that's
I feel like
nuts.
sometimes they want you to do, you know, some burpees before you.
Well, I had him in his first film. And that was pretty extraordinary. He was doing Saturday Night Live
Yeah,
that year,
Oh.
and my husband was the musical director that year.
Wow.
So it was when I got the film. I was in New York, and they told me about it and all this. And I spoke to Walter Hill. It was his, trip. He wrote the script, and he was directing it. And Joel Silver was the producer, and all these people, they know everything. But Eddie was the newbie. He came out of the comedy store. I forgot the man's name who he was so close with him, Krasnow or something like that, who owned the comedy store. He made a lot of their careers happen. So I wound up having to, in the script, is 48 hours, by the way, if I didn't mention it. Sorry. In the script, Eddie's in jail now, but in the script it says that he hid the money, all the money, because he's so smart. He served 4 years. He was coming out. He was going to do his thing. And in the script it says he goes to his car and he pulls out a red satin suit. And because the money's in the car with the suit and the boot of the car and blah, blah. I said, but why is he wearing a red satin suit? I mean, if he's so smart, he should be in something more
Please
conservative.
don't say what I think you're going to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so I went through, it was 4 years he spent time in prison. So I went through 4-year-old Esquires, and Gentlemen and GQs. And I found a picture of a shorter style double-breasted. And I said, that's the ticket, because he's going to run around. His jacket going to be flying, and it's going to look ridiculous. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's the thing. So
You
in the
did
script,
48 hours. Oh, my God. How come I didn't know that?
I don't know.
Jeez, that's like a classic forever.
yeah.
Yeah, and so on the set also making the tie, a skinny tie from a medium.
I think he still has that skinny tie. I helped him with his closet one time, and I saw the skinny tie, and I
You
was
saw
like,
my terrible
this
stitching.
is from a movie. I can't put my finger on it.
That's crazy.
I had to
leather
do it on
tie?
the set. They were yelling at me. I took a plane home after they shot the scene. I said, I can't do that. I got sick as a dog there. And they thought I was hanging out with Nick Nolte.
Oh, you
And
probably
his-
were, Marilyn. You were young and
no.
cute.
No.
Nikki.
I put, one of those waist tamers.
Cinchers on Nick Nolte?
Yeah.
Oh, you're you're speaking out of school.
I was.
That's awesome.
I didn't know any better. Okay, it was early in my career.
Yeah.
I also felt that it would help him, his body.
Of course it did.
yeah.
Yeah, he did it, and he did look better.
And he was happy. He was grateful to you.
I know,
for
right?
it.
I was going to say, when he saw that tape back, he's like, where did that come from?
Well, he was grateful because he knew he could keep getting stoned, so
There you go.
he had a girdle.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
But some of our story, I mean, the things that we go through, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And what you have, like 6 brothers and sisters?
Oh, 8.
8. Oh, 8. Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Five brothers. We're 8. 5 brothers, 2 sisters. I'm the youngest of 8. My mom's still alive. She's doing great.
I saw that picture
99
of you
years
and your
old.
mom. Bless her
Woo.
heart. Yes.
I'm like, Mom, I'm going to give you the 100-year badge right now. 'Cause
Yeah.
you don't have to wait for it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And anyone else in the family, are they in the business?
No, I have artists in my family, and that's kind of where I got my love of art from my brothers who drew and painted, and that was just something that was in our household growing up. And when you're a poor kid, you kind of gravitate to the things that are around you and make them your fun. And so I had, crayons and charcoal and pencils and drawing pads, so I could actually, give it a try. And then my brother's looking over my shoulder was like, do it like this, do it like that.
That's so great, though, that you had that, growing up.
Yeah, I
That's-
still love
that's-
to paint.
That's very fortunate, yeah. I wish I Oh, I'm sorry.
My bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, a lot of the questions.
Oh, that.
Oh, this. Yes.
The business.
So, what was the most challenging costume you've designed?
I would say it was the Dora Milaje because everybody was clamoring to get the design for that. And so it wasn't my own original design per se. I received that from Marvel because, you know, they have a whole marketing plan for their licensed characters. But when I got it, I felt like I needed to bring Africa to it and bring a story to it. And so I felt like the materials that I chose were very important because it was a uniform and it was worn by women and we wanted them to be flat on the ground and taken seriously. It was important that I actually, honored the female form and, adjusted a lot of the line work so that, it traveled around the body in a very, sensuous way. It cinched in the waist. It
Great.
traveled around the
Fabulous.
bust.
Yeah.
And then there was a vertical tabard that went down the front of the body. And I kind of struggled with, what to do with that because it's like right there in front. And I felt like, if it's a part of the harness and it's beaded, with the inspiration from the tribes, it could be something that, the harness that's, carried on, it passed down. And I felt like that made it a more powerful piece. And so it was like someone saying, here's the table, can you put this table in the scene? And of course the table needs to be, composed.
Yeah.
So that it makes sense.
Well, what you did on Black Panther with the blankets,
Oh,
the
yes.
shaved blankets.
The shaved blankets, the Lesotho
That's
blankets.
incredible.
Yeah, well, that was Ryan Coogler who went to Lesotho, South Africa, because he felt like he didn't want to direct a film about Africa, having never set foot on the continent.
Oh,
so
really?
he went there and he stayed. It's the Lesotho people are one of the last people that hold on to their original traditions, and they still live in mountainous areas, and they still wrap themselves in those beautiful blankets.
Beautiful.
So he fell in love with the blankets, and like my first day, he was like showing me his.
Yeah, blankets.
Find these blankets, and we're gonna make them into shields.
You did a beautiful job. I mean, it's
Thank
just
you.
incredible. And then you ran to Pier 1.
Oh,
This is-
in the comics, of course, I studied a lot of the Marvel comics, the Black Panther comics through all the iterations, everybody, Reggie Hutland, Tanashi Coates. And I noticed at Tribal Council there was a Maasai warrior with the big headdress. And I was like, hey, Ryan, are we going to do that? And he was like, no, I want to do the lip plate.
Oh.
So I was like, man, we're not going to get a Maasai warrior in this. And the Warrior Falls was a place where I could actually, explore all of the traditional garb that's worn throughout the continent because we had divided it very specifically. And so I decided that I would bring my Maasai warrior to life, but, it's going to be on an extra. So I can't spend all the money I would on a principal.
This is the correct.
So
that's
we
great,
were like,
yeah.
having something beaded, they're usually like intricately beaded and all of that. And I was just struggling to think, how can I get this beaded Maasai mask with all the feathers and the mane that it
It's
has
incredible.
attached to it? So I went to Pier 1 and I bought a beaded placemat
No.
Yes.
and I cut a hole in the middle. And that hole was so hard to cut. I mean, I'm
bet.
telling you.
I'll bet.
Layers and layers. And so I had my crew paint the beads, because we were painting Dora Milaje out of rubber molds.
Mm-hmm.
We were painting their tabards to look like beads, and they were
Yeah.
rubber casts for stunt work.
Incredible.
So I knew we could take something that was already formed like beads and paint into it, and it would look like we actually, did the beading ourselves.
That's
by hand,
fantastic.
one by
Of course,
one.
one by one. Yeah, of course.
So that was my Pier 1 story, but
That's
it worked
great,
because
of
that
course.
guy cost, $29.99.
Wow.
Hey. No, This
Yeah,
is,
that's
you got to
genius.
think on your feet.
That's-
You
yeah.
run into things like that, especially on a humongous film like this. And
Oh my
if
God,
she
yeah.
didn't have that head on her shoulders to
And the look is
figure out,
amazing. Yeah.
you know, when you're creative, you create, and that's what.
Well, you know,
Ruth
there's
does.
always this battle of getting your art in.
Yeah, that's.
You know, people want to kind of tell you, you have to do this, this, and this.
Mhm.
And you're like, well, in between all those things, there's a whole movie here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard. You know, it's very difficult. We are touching you, and we are hearing you, and you are playing a part. It's not you, and the fittings, especially when it's a custom. You know, when the stories need to be represented by the clothing.
Yeah, well, I love that you didn't want to leave that out of the movie, and like you even had the foresight to be like, okay, this could be a side character.
Yeah.
How can we make this
Yeah.
happen?
Right.
And I mean, like with the lack of a budget to pull something off like that, that's just amazing.
And I feel like it encompasses like the overall feeling of the comics
Yeah.
when it's there,
Yeah.
wherever it is.
Exactly. You just need it in the
Yeah,
background. You
yeah,
feel that's what I was
yeah.
telling you guys tell a story without people even knowing you're telling a story
Yeah.
because it's so visual. And as people, I mean, we're so visual, but we don't give the credit. Like I guarantee you, it'll be that quick. Like wow, that looks rad, and then you keep going, but you don't realize like that how amazing. Like when they see that character, no one's gonna realize like all the work that you had to put
Yeah,
into it, the
yes,
research, the
yes.
I want this to happen, and then it makes it.
And she's not a one-man band.
Yes.
She has to be able to tell different people that are working under her how to do it, where to go. They're all in.
About 40 people.
Oh boy!
Wow, that's like a football team of people.
She
You
did.
guys-
She
Oh my God.
Well, yeah,
saw
but then
the
I have,
scope of the
football
film.
teams have like coaches
Yeah.
for the defense, coach for the offense.
Yeah, yeah.
I got other coaches.
That's
Believe you
awesome.
me.
You had a great team then, because like that's also on props for you to be able to, I mean, relay the information to everybody and then work like with people's. I mean, you're all creatives you're working with, so you have a lot of you don't want people to get upset or feel bad, but it's like at the end of the day, you guys just want the best product, and working with people that understand that is huge.
Yeah, you can't compromise too much.
Yeah.
Your vision will just your vision will get so far away from you that you won't even know what it is anymore.
Yeah.
When you start compromising, and plus, you have like a, cacophony of producers that are going to walk through.
Oh God!
And
yeah.
so,
yeah.
so you don't want to stand there and like, isn't that right, Nancy?
Mhm.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's such. Oh God! We have to bargain sometimes.
Yeah.
To a degree that
Yeah.
it's really crazy. Especially you work for certain. Well, Marvel all is so incredible.
Yeah.
Their whole universe.
They're like a sub story.
Yeah.
But doing anything.
But everyday world of costume designer is not that experience.
No, but you've done many beautiful period pieces
Yeah.
beside this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they're all like, a struggle with money and budgets.
every one of
and-
them. And we
know.
don't always get the people we want or need the amount of people to help us pull things off.
Mhm.
It's really, it could be very, very, very grueling.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I did a small film in London at Pinewood, and we had the lake, the lock, it was called, on one of the stages. So we fill it with water, do the whole thing. They put it like a bit of chlorine in to keep it from having bacteria. And the actress goes in, and she comes out in a different color
Oh
outfit.
God, and her eyes are burning.
Oh no.
Her outfit got bleached
Yeah.
in the pool.
Yeah.
It's just
We had a
incredible.
problem with the reflection of the sun on the Warrior Falls into the faces of the actors. So everybody after the first day they had like, red eyes, and there was something just that, so they had to all get sunglasses to put on in between the
Wow.
shots because this reflection on the water that nobody really foresaw.
Yeah, how would you? I mean, that's
Right.
the other thing you guys have to deal with, like the chlorine in the water. Like, is that outfit gone? Do you guys have to just? Is it do you replicate it, or is it let's find something else? Yeah,
You always make more than one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's for sure. But,
Okay.
but they added this piece. Sometimes they do things like that.
Yeah.
With I want to kill them.
So here's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get these, like, have you ever worked on something you love so much, like, after this is done, I'm keeping this, or is it just like,
Well, they own your work for hire. They own everything. But when you're on an independent film and you see people like, going out the back door on the last day with stuff, you're
That's-
like,
yeah,
shoot,
she's
I'm
not
going to
kidding.
put this thing under
This
the
is
table.
true.
yeah, yeah.
But I have a question. So we're very different in our we started about the same time, but we're very different designers. What do you think was your trajectory, the reason for it? Being that you were a white woman in this industry, and then me as a black woman had to come into this industry in a different way. Do you feel like that you were embraced a little bit easier than it might have been for a person of color?
Well, for sure, it was easier than a person for color.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult.
Yeah.
I had difficulty with the people. I met the people from Universal. My husband at the time was doing the music for Warriors, so they took me to a cemetery
Yeah.
in Brooklyn, and there were the producers, and I got to meet them. And they go back, and then also one of the executives from Animal House, which he also did the music for, wound up getting married. We go to North Carolina to the wedding. The next thing I know, he's buying a baseball team. That's how I got into the movies.
Yeah.
I designed the Durham Bulls.
What year
for
was
them.
that? Like 92, 91?
one.
Somewhere around
Yeah,
then.
around there. And
Yeah.
John Hales, remember John?
Yep.
He made the uniforms, the
Wow.
samples for
Right,
me.
right.
And I made them out of spandex.
Right.
What?
And I did the logo. They still have the logo and all that. Anyway, I wound up. Hank Aaron came and picked the uniforms up at Universal.
You're saying these names
Hank
like it's just
Aaron.
like, oh
I
my
know,
god,
Yes.
it was great. It was great.
that's
But
insane.
I take my sons and we go to North Carolina, and I had made the colors the royal blue and then tobacco color, because that everywhere you look, are tobacco fields, and white, and they had stolen their home uniforms. They were all gone. They had to play ball in their bright blue.
What?
Yeah. It was, and the mayor was there, and it was just what a great experience.
Oh my
it
God,
was
yeah.
great. But after that, we go to Tom, the executive is getting married. We're all invited to his wedding, and so many people that
Yeah.
were directors
Yeah.
and the heads of studio.
Yeah.
I didn't know,
Yeah.
really who they were.
Yeah.
And I got a call. They said, hey, you should really design for the movies. I said,
Right.
I should.
Yeah.
Well, I have these 2 kids, and if I can, I will. I'll think about it. I thought I had
Yeah.
no clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah, well, I feel like it wasn't until I got an Oscar nomination did Hollywood say, "Oh, come interview for this," which in light of what it was, it's like, okay, a person of color has to get a nomination before they get invited in.
No, that's
But that's what it was.
How did you start? Like, how was your
she.
very beginning?
Oh,
Like your
Spike
first-
Lee.
So that was wow, what a great. So you started with Bull Durham, you started with Spike Lee. See, you guys, that's amazing.
But he was little known. She's Gotta Have It wasn't at Cannes. He was
Oh,
not the
okay,
Spike
okay,
Lee we know
okay.
now. He was an independent filmmaker.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And I did his first studio film.
No, wow.
Right, so we were doing
She-
small budgets.
Oh my God, that's.
But still, the recognition of what you're saying that is so true, because I had a black costumer who I was also friends with. Did you ever know Winnie
I was
Brown?
going to say Winnie Brown.
Winnie,
Of course.
she is the person. She's the first person I ever saw with a computer. First, she said, "I'm doing this on the computer." I said,
Yeah.
"You're doing what?" The breakdown. You're crazy. She said, "You'll see."
Yes.
I loved Winnie.
She
I had
was
to ask Brian De Palma. Now, this is not, I did not like this. Can I bring Winnie? She is my supervisor. Because there wasn't a dark face in the whole thing.
Yeah. Good for
And
you.
I had to. And she did, and we had a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Winnie. Yep, she
She
retired.
did the high school movies
Yeah.
with me.
Rest in peace.
She did everything. And then, I'm another story with going
So what was
into
the
a business.
the Oscar nomination? So that's human. So what was that like?
Malcolm X was first.
Oh my
And then I
God.
got nominated. Let's see, that was 93. And then I was nominated again in 97 for Amistad with Steven Spielberg.
Whoa.
How was working with Spielberg?
Oh, it was great.
Oh.
He was the most appreciative guy. I mean, I would, I would mosey up to him with, an image of something was going to do, and he would go, "Oh, wow." And then I was like, "Hey, not kind of what I was expecting, but I'll take it." Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Oh, it's perfect.
Oh my God. So then you said that's what helped you break through. So in my head, I mean, you're working with Spike Lee, even though he's independent. Like so what was the breakthrough? Do you mean as in like just like
just coming into Hollywood, because I was doing things my own way.
Gotcha.
Doing a lot of New York films, working with Keenen and Robert Townsend, and I was creating my own. I was also, my brother was he was someone who tested like software. They'd send him software, try this out, and so he told me about a screen capture software he was going to hook up to my computer. I had a huge computer.
Wow.
And he put a VCR and hooked it up to my computer, and I had all of the concert footage from Tina Turner's concert tours, and I was doing her life story. So we would put the concert in there, and we would screen grab. And I had this Tektronix printer that had 4 passes, CYMK.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
You were happening.
So my brother and I were like having fun, like screen capturing images from her concerts.
Yeah.
Did he ever become a professional in our field?
Never.
In the
Sorry,
business?
I didn't catch that.
Oh, shut up.
Did he ever become a professional in our field?
Excuse me, what?
No. My brother's doing well. He doesn't need this industry. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rough.
Yeah.
This is a rough place. Like she was saying, how.
Yeah, we were just supportive of it. My brother, the same brother that he was supportive of me as a kid, is doing the same. He has the same role with me as an adult.
He's closer in age to you?
One's 3 years older than me, but the real painter, Robert, is maybe 10 years older than me.
Okay.
'Cause we have 8 of us, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
generations.
Yeah, there's a ton. That's great.
That is great. I didn't grow up that way, unfortunately.
Hey, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I had older parents, and I was a late child.
Oh.
Yeah, poor me.
Well, I'm sure you had other extended family dynamics.
Yeah, major. Well, that's why I think I also got married young, and, just to have the family thing,
Yeah.
But it never quite gelled the way I wanted it to.
Yeah. Well, we were not. We were far from perfect. Believe you me.
Oh boy. Okay, you're not kidding. I just want to how do you feel about the being asked to do this for H&M, the line of clothing? That's amazing, by the way.
You doing a line of clothing for H&M?
I already
Right
did
now,
it.
She's
It's like my
Yeah.
favorite store.
Yeah. Well,
me too.
they produced a little sweatshirt. I don't think they really like me bringing it up, but the cutest little monkey in the jungle, and they put it on a little black kid. And I was like, oh, I can't work with them. But then I thought, I feel like I was like, a lot of, leaders, civil rights leaders who kind of, use the platforms to better the culture. And they're definitely a big platform. So I decided, and they wanted me to, project my voice, do something for Black History Month,
That's
be
That's great.
fantastic.
yeah.
It is
So a
Because-
lot of it was not necessarily like a fashion line. It was about, the empowerment of culture. So I could do, the liberation colors. I could say, trust your voice on the shirt. And, it was an amazing experience in that I have seen protesters with my shirt on.
That's cool.
I have seen this young girl who was assaulted by the police in Atlanta, her and her boyfriend in the car. When she did her press conference, she had my shirt on.
I saw that. That's cool. Oh my! I know exactly what you're talking. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that just made me that just made it all worth it.
Yeah.
Well, good for you for not like when a lot of times people see something that injustice or annoyance from a company,
Right.
and instead of being like, "Hey, I'm out," you actually helped them grow. And I mean, like, you got way more eyes on more important things than
Yeah.
a stupid shirt that they didn't think that, like.
Right.
But now you made a bigger message with this,
Yes.
so I love that.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think even for them, they were very apologetic. You know that it actually was the beginning and opening up this conversation about systemic racism, about what water. Like
Yeah.
we can like kind of live in our lives and do our thing and not really realize how the same situation affects all of us differently. You
Yeah.
know how
Yes.
I enter the room and how you enter the room can be completely opposite. What I'm feeling and what you're feeling. So I think it just started, to balloon, and I was in that beginning phase.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what about the Sheroes and Heroes?
My
How did
exhibition.
that come about?
Well, I've always collected costumes and always wanted to have an exhibition. And so, a curator in Pittsburgh called me and said, "Hey, I'd like to do an exhibition of your work." And so we cobbled it together, hook or crook. And we asked Marvel if we could have Black Panther costumes, and they granted they had lots of guidelines we had to follow. They were in a bubble.
Oh, that's
Oh.
great.
But it worked out, and then it just made me say, I really want to expand on this, and so I've teamed up with Minalima. They travel Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, and they're helping me create an immersive exhibition that will not only travel you through the costumes of my work, but so many of my films deal with culture and deal with Black history.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you the creative art of costume design and its influence in cinema.
What a time, too. This is the perfect time
Yeah.
to get out there and do that.
Yeah, I think it's always the perfect time. It's never a bad time.
Yeah, but they didn't focus
But now
enough.
they want to put
yeah.
the money towards it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now the
well,
financials backing
yeah,
it. But this
that's
looks
it.
amazing. Is it?
Yeah.
And it says August 25th through December 2nd in Pitt. You said this in Pittsburgh?
That was in Pittsburgh. That's the one we did a few years ago. But
That's
now the new one has a whole new title card and
Oh, great.
yeah. Because since then I've also done like Coming to America.
Oh, so you just keep-
Dolemite is my name. I keep adding to
Oh,
it.
that's just like that's so amazing. So is this traveling around like
yeah,
the
it will
country too?
travel.
Oh, that's
Next year
fantastic.
We'll travel.
You did an amazing job on Dolemite. Oh, my God. Every one of those characters.
Don't you remember the 70s, Marilyn?
I do, and you brought it back.
I so remember the 70s.
Oh, my
with
God.
such
Are you kidding?
love.
Disco roller dancing? And, oh, my God.
Yes.
Come on.
So I was like, you know what? Everybody who walked the streets in the 70s didn't have platform shoes and bell bottoms on. I know at least 50 trends that came out of the 70s. So let's explore all of them. And I want the background to be real and rich so that Dolemite will stand out.
Yeah.
And, he'll be the guy who gives us the classic, big, bold 70s. And everybody else is just normal, so they can laugh.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's one of my favorite films ever because of every characterization. Every single one of them.
Thank you.
It was
It was
and
hard.
That's
It
not
was
easy.
hot.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's people, you just watch the movie and you look, oh, that's nice. And that, you know what she went through
Yeah.
to get that?
She said it was hot.
It's-
What do you
It
mean?
was like the hottest summer in LA on record.
and they're filming in these
Polyester, double knit, big afros.
Yeah, that's
And nobody cared. I
'cause
mean,
it's
when
such a
I
great-
arrived to set in the van and all the background were hanging out,
Yeah.
outside the venue to get some air before they go in, it felt like I was at some club in 1975.
Oh, that's amazing. Sometimes the vibe of the
Yeah, the
like,
vibe is good.
That's so awesome that people are probably
It's
on the
great.
inside like know it's hot, but you feel so
So good.
good that you're just like this is worth
Yeah,
all
I
of
don't
it.
care. I was like helping my character to sweat.
Yeah, that's
Yes, of
awesome.
course,
That's
of course.
awesome. Yeah, look at that.
But-
That's amazing.
It is amazing. She's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very clear on each one of those characters, like who they were.
That's
my
what-
favorite, not only Eddie, but is Mike Epps. Mike
Oh
Epps
my
was my Jimi Hendrix.
He's amazing.
He just embodied it. Once he got
Second from the-
dressed,
Which one is he?
He's the second from the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
With the brown
maroon.
hat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
he just, I gotta say, he
But
was
the
my
acting,
favorite.
I mean, everything. It was so Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Mike
a big
Epps.
job.
He made it real.
Big one, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he kept it real, and I did him in a film called Sparkle, which we also had. He and I had an amazing time
What about
on.
your chips?
Oh, the poker trip dress.
She made dresses
Paco
out of poker
Rabanne.
chips.
Yeah, I actually used big old gemstones. Paco Rabanne did the poker chips, and so I was inspired by that, and I did big gems, and that dress weighed 10 pounds.
Whoa. Oh my.
Yeah, so
That's-
I learned a lesson
that
there.
would-
But the actresses so wanted to wear it, but they could hardly move.
Yeah. I know.
Did you ever hear of the film Sparkle?
I've heard. I've never seen.
Yeah, it wasn't a big hit, but it was the
Yeah,
clothes
those
in
are
it
the chips.
were great.
Wow. So those dresses were 10 pounds?
Yeah, each one.
Oh my.
And they had
that's-
to do a dance routine in it.
Yeah.
You know, so they managed to sort of
Go-
figure it out.
That's so. You know what's so great too is you can see how sometimes the actors when they're wearing like even that Mike Epps and that out like he
Yeah.
becomes the character
my
so much. Like
God.
when you see them, it's so like
Yeah.
I could
When an actor says, "I know this guy,"
yeah.
after they get dressed, you go, "Yeah,
She's-
me too."
This is the brilliance of this woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's a brilliant aspect of, oh, God.
Yeah, the transformational process is just like any artist. I think that, once you do your structure, once you have your line works, once you figure out your palette and you do all the things that you need to put it together, you get in flow. You
Yeah.
do get in flow with the actors. And then that transformational process is something that's synergetic between you and them.
That's true.
You actually don't need to come back for another fitting unless it's, actually the cutters, sometimes they have fittings without me because they want to check things, but as far as knowing their characters, you kind of once you get in and you're there, it's great.
Well, a lot
This
of
is what I have. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With Richard Pryor. The movie
Oh.
didn't come out. JoJo Dancer.
Wow.
I did his life. I thought I was going to die when
You
he went into the
did.
tub.
Where is that?
I was just gonna
film?
say, can we see this?
Yes.
song?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. From his childhood, from growing up, as a little boy in the whorehouse with his mother and his
Yes, I've
grandmother.
read the biography.
What a beautiful.
So they just never released it. What happens?
It's interesting. I don't know.
Who owns it?
I don't know.
I know. I'm so interested.
Go find your notes.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you.
Somebody's got to get
and
that. Give it
he
to
was,
Netflix.
It was so amazing to do him in all those periods as he came up in the comedy
And was
store.
he around? Was he in it?
Yeah, he was starring in
Oh
it.
my!
And he
God.
was
and it's
directing.
already done.
And he was
directed it.
directed, yeah.
Oh man!
I know
Somebody
what-
out there knows where that is.
Right?
I hope so.
Please.
Really, because I had just come. I did Brewster's Millions, and he was in that with John Candy.
Yeah, I remember
and that
that.
was so cool. He was a sweetheart. And then he got into the JoJo. But before he started JoJo, he said, "I'm going to be on the Tonight Show. Can you come with me to New York because I don't know what to wear and I don't know."
What?
Oh my God! I think Richard, come on.
Did you go?
You have no. I made it. No, I made a chart. I made a chart for him.
You made a chart. You
A
think
chart.
That guy's
I
gonna follow a
numbered his
chart?
shoes, and I
it was like the
alphabetized
times tables.
shirts.
That's so
This
cool.
A goes with B, and B. I had to. I was on another film. He would have killed me.
Wow.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I was on The Last Boy Scout. So one of
So
those
here's
things.
this actually,
Crazy.
you guys kind of answering my question I was going to have is how many times have you worked with someone and they trust you so much that they just keep having you back? But like you guys keep, repeating, I worked with him these times, I worked with them these times. So once people I feel like trust you with the way that they look or feel like it's just like, okay, this is our designer. Like is that
Yeah.
the case a lot of times?
Well, with me, it just, I got into the boys' club somehow. I was in the testosterone scene, and I was dying to do something else, but I wound up with one producer, 17 films. I did a lot major. I was the first chick to do testosterone. What can I tell you?
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's true, but they pushed me into it, and why not, And so I wound up doing Die Hard 1 and 2, Predator 1. How about Predator?
Wow. Jeez.
Those costumes, those guys,
Yes.
big guy, Bill Duke, he was
Right.
huge.
Tall.
These guys, they were great though. It just, I've been so lucky to have been around, and they were so polite and so cool.
I think easier with directors when you repeat because you know that their aesthetic is going to be somewhat consistent, but not as easy with actors. Actors want you back, like Eddie Murphy brought me back. But when we went to do Dolemite, I hadn't worked with him in 10 years.
Wow.
Oh my.
And so I walked in with, the mindset of the Eddie Murphy of 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And, so it was a break-in period to get to know him and his size, because now he's been on the couch. He's been on the couch. And so I was like, woo,
good.
let it out, let it out.
Yeah.
But, and
How was
now
that
he's
phone
a
call?
grown man.
Yeah, 10 years later, that must have been like a.
Like no time ever passed.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
When you know someone, you know
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
Especially
good to see
this
them.
business becomes your family and your life.
Yeah, all
You
of
know,
his people,
we-
his assistants, his cousins, everybody knows me from 5 films, or 4 films.
Yeah.
So it's like going home again. But as a designer, I wanted to put him in, all the shirtless, shirtless.
Yeah.
And he was
Fun.
like, no.
Cool.
Yeah. It's quite something when you either have familiarity or that you're just starting with someone. You get to, there's a certain rapport that you hopefully maintain, and some of them are just like Bruce Willis. There's a certain amount of closeness you can have with someone like that.
Oh yeah. Well, Hollywood is so much different than Black Hollywood in some ways. I started in independent film. So Hollywood, when I came over here, there was always that. There was that star thing. And I just remember Spike saying when we were doing Malcolm X and Denzel was coming from L.A. to New York, and he was like, don't treat him like a Hollywood star. Just don't treat him. So we were like, okay, and he actually, from White Plains, he actually felt more comfortable. He was walking around, with his, mindset and feeling very comfortable around all of us. But I think that the Hollywood system, when I would come out here, was very entrenched in the mindset of the actors.
Oh,
there were
God,
things you did for them. There were places that you had their fittings. There was a system in place that actually, coddled them. And so it was kind of hard, to break into the Hollywood system because, being an African American, not really having the look of the designer. When I walked in the room, it was like, I think people wanted to put you in the role of the help.
I understand.
They wanted to put you in the role of, can you help me with my shoe? Can you help me zip this up?
God.
Can you? That was a comfortable place. So I actually had to, work within that mindset and say, sure, I'll help you with your shoe.
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that for you. But at the same time, I had to keep my head on as I am actually the lead designer here to help guide this situation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be, a little black girl to help only for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to move us together to this design that we want to accomplish.
Wow.
And I think it created a nice relationship between me and the actor once we got to set.
Of course.
So, other films that weren't Black that I did, like I said, Robin Wright, and I did Ty Cobb, even on some of the Eddie Murphy films,
You did a little Disney film that they asked me.
Teen Beach Movie.
Yeah, the Teen Beach movie.
Yes. And I was in Puerto Rico with all those dancer teenagers. And they were very professional.
Yeah.
I got to give it to them.
Yeah.
They gave me no problems.
Disney.
Actually, 0.
Really?
Disney, though. Whew, another story.
Yeah. Well,
But I had to send them a lot of images. They're very much in control. And that was the first time I had ever worked on a show where you didn't have to follow continuity. And it blew my mind. Once you got the character figured out, if she was the girl with the pink boots and the pink hot pants, she wore that costume every time you
that
saw
costume
her.
was fabulous. They went out of the way to show me what your
There
work
it
was
is.
like. Is this it?
Yeah, that's it. But that's their promo, so they're all not in costume. They're in some other kind
So
of.
when they do these
But
promos,
some of it is, but most of it is.
do you design like when they go on photo shoots? Do they hit you guys up too to say,
No, see, that's the problem. You know,
Okay.
that's a whole other
Yeah.
animal.
"Oh, okay."
You got to let go of them because that
Yeah, you
person
gotta walk
is in
away.
charge.
Oh wow, that's so interesting.
Some of it, yeah. Well, if you're doing it for on the set with during the time you're still filming, then you can maybe work it through with,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a photographer.
Yeah.
But once you're out of that realm, forget it. It's
I
very
know.
difficult.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, it is. Totally.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind walking away.
I walk. I just have to tell you, I did Ricochet with
Now,
Denzel.
that's the second one, I think.
Oh,
Is it?
Yes,
no,
that's
the
it.
first one. That's
No.
the first one. They did two.
oh, you kidding?
Yeah, they did two.
Did you do both of them?
Because
No,
was
I was asked to
showing
do
me-
the second one, but I was on another film.
Oh, that's so cool. I must have. You must.
Yeah,
does
that's
it
not
feel?
the greatest shot.
I love this woman.
Yeah.
I just love her.
Does it feel good sometimes? That was
She's
Disney
so-
when you guys get to say no to some people when they hit you up again or to do something. Like, is it kind of nice when you're like, you can't like that? Like, hey, this is an honest no, but to be like, hey, sorry, Disney.
They call my agent first.
Oh, okay.
So if they call me, they're like, "We're so sorry you can't do this. We
Oh,
really
okay.
wanted you on it."
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, you have to have some protection, especially now. She's like, you're the queen of everything right now. It's amazing. She's
Oh, that's
also
nice.
governor of the in the academy, the branch of costume designers.
Oh, my
She's our
God.
governor.
Yeah, I am on the board. I'm governor for the whole academy.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, now right. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
No, she
I'm
is-
happy to be there because I think the academy 20 years ago, probably even 10 years ago, didn't look like me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
And and what is this? You're accepting an award? Is this the
That's
Oscar.
The
the Oscar?
Oscar.
Oh, I
That
can't see-
award.
I'm
This
wrong.
look-
I'm-
yeah.
my eyes are terrible. I'm sorry. Got to glare on this. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was the Oscar for?
Black Panther.
Oh my, that's amazing. What a
Well,
great.
She was nominated 2 times
Yeah.
prior. Third time, like you said.
So what's
was
the feeling
Charm.
when you finally get it? Because I know when you're not, I mean, just a nomination alone to me is like just saying you're nominated, that's huge. But then when you finally are holding it, like what was that feeling? Especially
can
for a
you
movie like
imagine?
Black Panther.
Well, I'll say this. The stars aligned.
Yeah.
And when I got up there, Spike was sitting 4 rows back. And it wasn't his film, but he was the person who gave me my start.
That's so cool.
So I got to thank him holding the Oscar on the Dolby stage for giving me my
Wow.
start. So that's what meant the most.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's so
And-
cool.
And and to like kind of reach that point that all of us want and dream about, and to actually be able to go up there and accept it, it's awesome.
Yeah, and your outfit is fantastic. Did
Listen,
you design? Was that you?
Hell
No.
no.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say 'cause that's.
I got in the limo in my bathrobe 'cause that thing wasn't ready.
Wow, Abe looks.
It's a horror story. I'll write it in my memoirs.
Very cool.
You're writing your memoirs. Oh boy, that's what I'm doing.
That's amazing.
I don't think it's going to be that way anymore. Though life is, in film has changed so much. I don't think the designers that are coming up have to go through what we went through.
But they're going through stuff.
Yeah, but not
They're not getting the same opportunities.
exactly.
There's such a financial investment in films that I think that's always been the case, but especially now, they don't want to go with newbies as much. People ask me all the time, what advice do you have for a young costume designer getting in the business? And I just say, love it enough to do it in any way, shape, or form possible. If you know someone who's doing a one-man show in the middle of Wilshire Boulevard, tell
Go
them, I'll
for
do
it,
your
yeah.
costumes. That's the only way you're going to be at the satisfaction. If you keep wishing to be on, the movie with all
But
the
we
stars.
did the same thing.
Yeah.
We did what she's saying. I mean, I just happened to meet these people. I didn't know anything. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And saw how people were treated then in the different capacities
Yeah.
of their work. And some of it was awful. I'm sure it won't be that awful these days.
Yeah, we all have bad.
Yeah.
Well, lately there's a lot of it feels like socially, like the world is kind of coming together on a lot of issues, like the Black Lives Matter in the last. I mean, I don't know if it was COVID that helped push it,
What
but
everybody's minds focused on.
exactly. So, like, how has that impacted your, career? Because like that is like before all this was so mainstream, you were living it, doing it. I mean, working with Spike Lee before he was a Spike Lee. I know, you know what I mean? Like, how have you seen Hollywood or even just your designing? Like, how has that changed in the last?
I feel like it's cyclical. I
Okay.
can never say that word, but you know what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like it just comes around. It keeps coming around, and so now we have to come up with ways in which to, affect change differently. I mean, I feel like everybody gets a chance to protest. However, this protest was the biggest worldwide
Yeah.
protest in history, and COVID didn't matter, and so there were so many dynamics there. But I've always been from a child. I knew about Kwanzaa, and I mean, I came up in the inner city, which had an element of Black empowerment and Black nationalism, and the whole Afrocentric, and actually telling the truth about it. So we didn't really see our images on film for many, many years that were really depicting us in the way that we saw each other in our community. And it wasn't until I got with Spike Lee that he said, we're going to show Nola Darling. We're going to show Do the Right Thing. We're going to show like the real, and even though it had its hyper-realism that was laced in the story,
Sure.
the people looked more like us than what we were seeing. That was the whole reason for Hollywood Shuffle with Robert Townsend. So I think after the early 90s, everything shifted to like we want to see more real stories about Black families that are uplifting and empowering. That's when you got the Cosby Show and all of that stuff started coming out. So there was this trajectory. I mean, when Rodney King riots happened, I was on a film with Robert Townsend, and we caravanned everybody home. And then the next day, Edward James Olmos called people to action on the radio to go clean up the South Central, and I met him on Adams and Western.
Oh wow!
And we started with brooms, and then people were coming in trucks from different hardware stores, bringing more brooms to people, bringing water. And I must have walked, 50 miles that day just around pushing the debris back into the storefronts.
Oh my God.
So, this call to action has been in existence for so long. And now, I mean, younger people are really beginning to see how we have, sort of lived with this police brutality. And you can look back to the 60s and hear someone, reciting some kind of empowerment, plea about stopping the violence. So it just started affecting more than just Black people. When we saw George Floyd on the ground, and that image just was the tip of the iceberg, and it just opened up the floodgates. And
that non-reflective, that face on the cop.
Yeah, just this. The whole thing was just heartbreaking. So I just feel like now is the time for us to understand it as a nation, we need to understand how racism affects not only Black people, but all people of color that come into this country and want to have the same equal rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, huge props on you for doing this, from like wanting these voices and Spike Lee seeing it, and like depictions of honest people, and like more of what you guys feel, because that wasn't so in the mainstream. That's like a lot of people are chasing money or chasing whatever, and you guys were chasing truth. And that to me is why he is so important. And a lot of people look back, it's like, well, you don't understand when you like see certain comics or certain people, like when they're doing it in certain times, like this isn't like they're doing it because this is what they believe in, not because this is what they think is going to sell.
Yeah,
Right.
Stan Lee
Exactly.
thought that there needed to be a black superhero in the 60s.
I know, right?
Spike was, had a purpose. I think it's all about a purpose. And when you have a purpose, then the longevity just comes with it.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's awesome.
And having a friendship with him is great.
Yeah.
Someone like him.
He's difficult, though.
Who isn't in their own,
But I love him.
Cool. Well, as the podcast winds out, is there anything that we're missing? Is there anything that you could like promote? Where can people find you? Where can people find your work?
Yeah.
Oh, the real Ruthie Carter on Twitter. my Facebook page got hacked and they took me down, and I
Oh.
was like, ah, the hell with
It's
it.
good. Facebook's the
kidding.
worst
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
I hate Facebook.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna learn to live without it.
There you go. So the real Ruthie Carter on
Yeah,
Twitter.
right, and that's pretty much all I got.
Ruthie, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Real-
Ruthie forever, but my middle initial is E.
Oh, that's so funny. Ruthie, there you go.
Yeah, so we're doing some collaborations with Coming to America,
Mhm.
a Target collaboration. I redesigned the product case for Crown Royal. So
Oh, no way.
yeah, so around the holidays there'll be a lot of collaborations with associated with the film, which is nice to do. I've
That's
never
so
had that,
fun.
and like all of those things that don't normally happen for costume designers, I feel like I'm making ground for
you
us.
certainly are.
Yeah.
You certainly
Yeah.
are. Yeah, because there are so many designers that they just go from one to the other to the other.
Yeah,
to the
chosen few, but not the mass.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Well, it's great. Marilyn Vance, where can people find you?
right here.
On Designing Hollywood. This
Yes,
is a
they
podcast.
can.
Where can they,
Yeah.
and then MarilynVance.com.
Yes.
That's where I mean, you can do a dive. You see your portfolio and everything you've worked on.
Yes. My website.
Your website.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
There
I have
you
a
go.
website, ruthiecarter.com.
There you go. RuthieCarter.com as well.
Yeah. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank
was
you
fun.
for coming.
Great conversation.
It really, and you're my very first.
Yes, I'm honored.
Please
Do I get a
be,
special prize when
please
I
be.
leave? No, just
Yeah.
kidding.
I was looking around like, what can we give?
Bag of M&Ms.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That'll work.
But I'm so pleased. You're
Thank you.
wonderful. Always have been.
Thank you. So it's nice to have such a long, good friendship with you.
I know.
Mhm.
How about that?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Well, thank you. That was great.